Alright, so section 7 is taking what we just did for linear equations and applying it to inequalities. Okay, so we're going to graph linear inequalities and we're going to graph systems of linear inequalities. Okay, so for linear inequalities, you can't do substitution or elimination anymore. Unfortunately, you got to graph it. Okay, so that's our goal today, is to learn how to graph these systems. It's also a good little review of just graphing equations in general. So, to graph these things, you have to start by graphing the associated equation. Right, that's kind of a fancy word. It's not really that fancy, but it's kind of fancy. For just means graph the line that goes along with the inequality. Okay, so if you didn't write it as an inequality, but instead you wrote it as an equation, right, that would be the associated equation. Right, then, so you just pretend it's an equal sign first, graph it. Once you do that, then you make the line dotted if it's greater than or less than, right, solid if it's less than or equal to. Right, you shade above the line, right, so you shade above the line if it's greater, shade below the line if it's less than, right, and that's pretty much it. So, hop into these little guys. Alright, to graph these, I suggest you probably go into slope-intercept form. It's probably the easiest. Okay, so we will subtract 3x, divide by 2, negative 2. Remember, since we're dividing by negative 2, we've got to flip that sign. Greater than or equal to 3 over 2x minus 4. Okay, so that's the equation that we're going to be graphing, or the inequality we're going to be graphing. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to pretend like that is an equal sign, not a greater than or equal to sign. And I could go ahead and do a solid line because I see the equal thing under it. If it was not there, I would have to do dotted. All right, so I start down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And go up 3 to the right 2, up 3 to the right 2. Alright, just 2 dots is plenty, but I can't draw with this thing. That was pretty good, right? So because of that, I just put more on there. Okay, so that's how you graph it. Now we need to shade. Alright, so since it's greater than, we're going to shade above the line, which means all of this stuff up here is going to be shaded. Okay, and number 3, we'll do 3 next, and then we'll slide down to 2. Alright, so number 3, we've got y plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, so just subtract that 1 over. Alright, and I've got y is greater than or equal to negative 1. Alright, so for this, graph it like y equals negative 1. Remember that y equals graphs are horizontal, so at negative 1. Alright, once again, a solid line because it's greater than or equal to, and shade above the line again. So it looks just like that. Number 3, x minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So I've got x is less than or equal to positive 3. Alright, so remember x equals 3. That graph is at x equals 3. It's a vertical line. That's supposed to be on 3 the whole time. I know it's not. I apologize. Now, for these, when you have vertical lines, there's no such thing as above the line. Okay, so you're working with left to right at that point. Okay, so if it's greater than, you shade to the right. If it's less than, shade to the left. Also, just think about it, right? Everything to the left of that is less than 3. Everything to the right of that is greater than 3, so I'm going to shade less than. And the last one here, subtract 3x. Divide by negative 2, flip the sign. Don't forget to flip the sign. Please don't forget to flip the sign. Very similar to number 1 that we graphed. Alright, we're going to start down 3. Then we'll go up 3 over 2. Alright, this time we have to do a dotted line. Okay, because it is just greater than. So I've got dotted line, put my arrows. Then you can shade above the line once again because it's greater than, and that's it. Let's do some systems. So now we're just going to graph 2 things on the same thing, on the same 2. I'm going to stop saying the word thing. Okay, 2 lines, 2 inequalities on the same plane, right? And once we do that, we'll just see where our shading overlaps, and that will be the answer. So this first one becomes y greater than negative 2x plus 1. Alright, the second one becomes negative y is less than or equal to negative x plus 3. Divide by negative 1 or multiply. Flip the sign. Don't forget to flip the sign. Flip that sign. X minus 3. Alright, those are my two lines that I'm going to graph. The first one, you go up 1 for the y-intercept, and then you go use the slope, negative 2 over 1, so you go down 2 to the right 1, or up 2 to the left 1, either one, whatever you're comfortable with. It's got to be a dotted line. Not bad. I'll take it. Okay, I got my dotted line, and I'm going to shade above, because it is greater than, so above that line. The blue part, alright, I start down 3 for the y-intercept. My slope is 1, up 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the left 1. That's just not my best work right there. Okay, this one could be a straight, solid line. And once again, we're going to shade above because it is greater than. Okay, so shade above the blue. Now, wherever they overlap, I'll do the overlapping part in purple. Right, that is going to be the correct part to shade. Alright, so probably the best option for you if you don't have different colors like this is to erase or don't necessarily shade in all the areas that are not quite correct. Right, so that part, just that upper quadrant, is the correct part of the answer. Number 6 and 7, I'm going to give you 3 inequalities, right? So x is less than 6 is a pretty easy one. Right, we can go right to the graph there. Go up 6. Dotted line across. Oh, I just messed that up. X equals 6 is actually a vertical line, remember? I remember that. Vertical line, x equals 6. Good. It's dotted. I'm going to be less than 6, so I'm going to shade to the left of that. Alright, x plus y is greater than 4 is the same as y is greater than negative x plus 4. Okay, to graph that one, I start up 4 and go down 1 to the right 1, or up 1 to the left 1. Once again, it's got to be a dotted line. Oh, that's off. It's a little bit off, but you can see the idea. Okay, once again, you shade above that line because it's greater than. So shade all that stuff. And the last one, this one's already set up for you, right? We go start up 4. Now we go down 1 over 2. Okay, this one's also dotted. Okay, and we are shading below that line. Okay, so you shade everything below that one. Now it's hard to see here. It's a little bit difficult to see where the actual overlap is, right? But if we start erasing the stuff that's unnecessary, right? So none of this stuff. We know none of this stuff. There's nothing over here, right? You can start to see that the part that is the correct answer is going to be above the green part, to the left of the red part, and below the blue part. So I'm going to put it in black, right? It's actually this little triangle right in here. Okay? So the neater you are when you graph these things, the better you'll be able to see your answer. And the last one here. We've got x is greater than or equal to 0. Right? It's just the vertical line on the y-axis. You're going to shade to the right of that. Right? I'm not going to shade till the end on this one because I think we can see it pretty well. Y is less than or equal to 0. Alright, that's just the x-axis, and I'm going to shade below that. So right now we're looking at the bottom right quadrant, right? And x plus 1, or x plus y is greater than negative 1. So y is greater than negative x minus 1. That one, Go down one to the right one, down one to the right one, or up one to the left one. This one's dotted. Oh, off. Oh yeah. Okay, good. We got the nice dotted line, and we're shading above that one. So hopefully you can see here that the part we need to shade is below the red line, to the right of the blue line, and above the green line, which means that purple stuff is the correct answer.